Morning, Greene County. How's everybody doing today? Good. We've got a special guest here this morning. Jenny used to be part of our family many years ago. She's come back to tell us about what she's doing now and tell us a little bit about the parks. I know that a lot of you enjoy our parks around Springfield. We have a blessed community in that. So let me turn it over to Jenny Filmer Edwards from the Springfield Park, our Springfield Greene County Park Board.
Hi, it's great to be here. It's so fun to walk in this building, which is so familiar to me, and see some familiar faces. Wow, this is a loud mic. I'm going to step back. I have quite a few slides to get through, but I'll introduce myself just a little bit. I worked for Greene County 2006 to 2012, and then I left and went to the Springfield Greene County Park Board, which is still got Greene County in it, so I feel like I haven't actually left the family. And I'm going to give you I'm Public Information Administrator at the Park Board now and have been for more than 11 years. I'm going to give you the briefest of snapshots. Commissioners, this will look familiar. So and I'm going to rush through them, but stop me if you have any questions. All right, so the Park Board is one of 4 city-county departments. You've probably heard of the other 3. It was established as the Springfield Park Board in 1913. That was a citywide vote that said, should we establish a park board and should we establish a small property tax to support the park board? And the voters, who were all men in 2013, said yes. And that small property tax is still on the books in the city. And then in 1996, it was expanded out to Greene County, and the name changed to the Springfield Greene County Park Board. We are governed by the board that we use as our name. It's a 9-person volunteer board. The Greene County Commission appoints 4 of those members, and the Springfield City Council appoints 5 of those members. And we have a close relationship with both Greene County Commission and the City of Springfield. We meet with them throughout the year, and they have the ability to approve our budget. These are the current board members that we have. I don't know if you know these folks, but this is our board right now. These next 2 slides are the most boring and hard to read slides of the presentation, so don't get worried. Well, he's a man who loves a pie chart. This is a snapshot of our revenue for the current year that we are in. It's right at almost $36 million, and I have a hard time actually seeing what is in that slide. I'm sorry, it's really tiny. But our income comes from the 2 countywide park sales taxes that are charged on sales in Greene County. Number 3 is that meal tax that goes all the way back to 1913. And a big chunk of it, actually the biggest chunk, is our user fees and charges. So that's if you're a member of a family center or you register your kid for a program or anything that you are paying to the park board is user fees and charges. Golf is its own pie. It's slice of the pie. It's an enterprise fund, so everything that goes into golf stays in golf. And then there's a small sliver of donations, grants, and sponsorships, and a reimbursement that comes through the city. Expenditures, as you can see, this is the same probably for everybody. The biggest chunk of the pie, most of the pie, is personnel, paying for people to work for us. And what are the smaller ones? It's really hard to read. Charges for service, operating, maintenance, etc. I told you these are going to be hard to read and the most boring ones. So let's keep going. Let's get into some bigger numbers, bigger to read numbers. We do have 105 parks, trails, and facilities. We call those 105 sites. Some of those sites have more than one thing in them. The best example is the Botanical Gardens, has about 25 named things in it. Actually, it's more than 25, but Mizumoto Japanese Stroll Garden, the Gray Campbell Farmstead, the Butterfly House, that's all one park. So that counts as 1 out of 105. And that's the one that's got the most things in it. But there are other parks that have other little named things within them. We have 3,200 acres. That's in both the city and the county. Our greenway trails are more than 70 miles. They're always adding little chunks of greenway, so I just keep that at a broad 70 plus. And we have 10 historic parks. Does anyone want to throw out some names of historic parks that date back to pre-World War II? Yes. Phelps Grove. Washington has a sister. Fast Night, yes. Grand Beach. Sorry, Woodland Heights. No, sorry. Lafayette is the sister park to Washington. Smith, Silver Springs, Sequiota. There's 3 that start with S and 2 that start with D. Sterling. And the last one's kind of a trick because you don't think of it as a park. It's Dickerson Park Zoo. Good work. All right, there we go. Woo! Okay, we have 3 family centers. We have 8 swimming pools. 2 of those are indoors, 6 are outside. We have 4 golf courses, and we have more than 30 school park properties where we partner with Springfield Public Schools. We like to say we're a very diverse system from A to Z, aquatics to zoo. We do have a zoo, as well as the Rutledge Wilson Farm Park, the Springfield Botanical Gardens, Lake Springfield Park, and Valley Watermill Equestrian Center. So we really have a broad offering of things to do and things that we do. This is a little slow. Our sports facilities, it's a long list, so the font gets smaller, but you can have a quick look at our sports facilities. That's a big thing that we do, is have sports for all ages, and we primarily exist to serve people in our community. So if you want to play volleyball, adult volleyball, I think registration's open right now. Spring softball and baseball registration is currently open and starts in April. So a lot of what we do are sports leagues. And we also are excited when we host tournaments from around the region or around the country. And not this week, but next week, we have 2. It's going to be a basketball town next week. We have the National Homeschool Championships basketball tournament here in town, on top of the Missouri State High School Sports Activities Association, MISHA is what we call that, basketball. So Springfield's going to be just crawling with basketball players next week. And that's fun because people come and stay in hotels and eat in our restaurants and make sales tax. Whoops, I'm going the wrong way. We also exist to promote healthy lifestyles. So we're excited about, we already talked about access to sports, but family centers. Is anybody in here a member of a family center? Yes. I think we still have an arrangement with Greene County for a discount. We're really proud to offer that. And if those of you did not raise your hand, please think about joining a family center and finding a way to incorporate getting fit in your life, because it is very affordable if you're a Greene County employee. We have outdoor interpretation, which is called Outdoor Initiatives. That's the group that gives the tours of Sequiota Cave. We have boat tours at Sequiota Cave. That was last weekend, and this coming weekend, weather permitting, if it doesn't rain and flood all week. If you want to see inside Sequiota Cave from a boat, registration's open. We have senior programs up at the Northview Center, accessible programs also at Northview, and we do a ton of special events. The biggest one is Turkey Trot, and that's why its photo is there. We are longtime partners with Ozark Greenways, 30 years, more than that now. Here's how it works. Ozark Greenways builds trails, advocates for trails, talks about trails, secures right-of-way for trails. And then once they're done, those become, at least in Greene County, those become linear parks. So it's a long, skinny park that the park board will maintain and keep mowed on and pick up the limbs after a storm. So that's how the relationship works. Greenways does also build trails outside of Greene County, mostly in Polk County, and Polk County has its own arrangement to take care of that. We don't go up there. Not that we don't like them. And we like to talk about the power of partnerships. We have more than 300 active partnerships with the community. These are some of the logos of some of the bigger ones, but that ranges from big ones like Missouri State University and Greene County and the city of Springfield, down to smaller ones like the Hillbilly Garden Club that keeps one garden at the Botanical Center looking great. Is anyone in the Hillbilly Garden Club? But that's just an example of like they're big relationships and small individual relationships. This is one that we're really proud of. We are accredited. It is an enormous task to get accredited and stay accredited, but we've just been reaccredited 2 years ago, and we're proud of that. That's a national accreditation. It's called CAPRA, and fewer than 2% of the parks agencies in the United States are accredited. So it's kind of a big deal and a gold star for us. Okay, I want to talk about some things that have happened recently. This you may have heard of. It happened in 2021. The park board acquired the Fieldhouse Sports Center. Had been privately operated prior to this, and through a partnership with the city of Springfield, which helped us fund it, we were able to purchase this building. It has 4 indoor courts, basketball and well, if you turn them into volleyball, that's 8 because they're half size. But keeping this facility in our system is really good for Springfield and for families who have kids or who are athletes. This center was very likely to be sold and turned into something else if it hadn't gone to the park board. So we would have lost 4 courts or 8 if it's volleyball, and we're really happy that we were able to find a way to keep that within rotation, and it's still a sports center. It's actually called a sports center. Lake Springfield Park, this is not actually new. Maybe you've been there. Anyone play disc golf? Not a soul. Well, you should start. Oh, yes, you do? Have you played? Okay, so this is our newest disc golf course. We now have 4, and it's the only one that's 18 holes, 18 different holes. And we were approached by a disc golf group that wanted to build this, and they wanted to fund it too, which was even more exciting. So that happened in 2021, and it's really kind of changed, not fundamentally changed Lake Springfield, but it's brought new people to Lake Springfield who wouldn't have really come out there very often anymore. So it's exciting to see new people in the park, and it still looks like Lake Springfield Park. We've been restoring prairie restoration, so we're taking out invasive species and installing native species. If you go to Lake Springfield and you see areas that look like they've been recently dug up sort of on a hillside next to the road, that's what's happening there, is we're installing native species. We are still building a maintenance facility that burned down in 2020. And we are excited about the Lake Springfield James River Power Plant Master Plan, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about later. Ozark Greenways, always building trails. You cannot keep them down. They just go, go, go. Exciting is that the Fulbright Spring Greenway is now 7.5 miles uninterrupted. You can ride a bike or walk or push a wheelchair or run 7.5 miles from Ritter Springs through the county. This is north of Springfield, north of Springfield in Greene County, from Ritter Springs to Lost Hill over to Truman School. It's a beautiful trail. It goes through meadow. It goes through areas with water. That's the one on the right. And it's really fun. You feel like you're really away, but it's not that far away from Springfield. Also, we're really excited that we've been able to restore some Galloway Creek Greenway. If you've been through the Galloway area, you might have noticed that some of that greenway got a little bit, not destroyed, but damaged during the construction of all the new stuff out there. So we were recently very happy to install some new segments out at Galloway Creek, which is our busiest greenway. Last year, we put in some new stuff at the Botanical Gardens. I'm not going to read them all, but the photos are the Catchill Fountain, which is a giant new fountain on the south side of the Great Lawn with a view from the Botanical Center. The sculpture in the top right is the Gertis family sculpture that was installed over by the Rose Garden. And the little one at the bottom with the water wheel, that is the Azumaya. That was over at the Bush Building, between the Bush Building and City Hall for a long, long time. And it was a gift from our friends in Isesaki, Japan, like 29 years ago. And just recently, we were able to move it outside the entrance of the Mizumoto Japanese Stroll Garden, where it seems like it belongs better because it was kind of a noisy air conditioner area over there at the Bush Building. I don't think it was as noisy when they put it in, but it became kind of it was a quieter spot, but it wasn't any longer. So we were excited to move that out there. And all of these things that are going on at the Botanical Garden are privately financed through donations. Okay, and we're also excited about this is like future and present. The Springfield Art Museum master plan includes connections, very natural connections to Phelps Grove Park. The art museum actually, the land that it's on used to be part of Phelps Grove Park, and what's now the parking lot area used to be a rose garden, but before that it was a lake, and that's a longer story that I'm not going to tell now. But we're excited that the art museum is redoing their outside, and then they're redoing their physical building. That's a later phase, but phase one is complete. If you've driven by Phelps Grove Park, it looks different than it used to, and it's exciting. There are geese and ducks hanging out in the water over there. They basically widened Fast Night Creek that was in a little channel, and now it's in a big natural channel, and now we're getting waterfowl over there. So that is exciting because it's more synergy in that area. Wanted to mention our park rangers received a pretty big award last year from the National Park Law Enforcement Association, the Platinum Excellence Award. Our park ranger, Robert Bridges, who you may remember sustained an injury in the line of duty in 2021, has received several awards and recognitions since his injury, including the governor's Red, White, and Blue Heart Award, which, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. He went up to Jeff City to receive from the governor directly. And I want to mention right now that our commissioners are sorry, not our commissioners, our park rangers are commissioned through Greene County Sheriff's Office. So we thank you. Is anyone from the Sheriff's Department? Nobody. Okay. Here's what's coming up. You may have heard about this. This was the big one, the Cooper Park reinvestment. We did a kickoff in November. Instead of a groundbreaking, we did a kickoff where all of our elected officials had a soccer ball and 1, 2, 3, and everybody kicked. And that was the groundbreaking. It's $25, $25 million of improvements coming to this area. It's 8 soccer fields that are going to be turfed. It is 6 baseball and 5 softball fields are going to be turfed. If anybody has kids that or yourself played sports on these fields during spring, you know what we're talking about. It gets wet, it gets muddy, the fields get unplayable. So turning those into artificial turf, I should have said that artificial turf is coming to these, not just turf, but artificial turf that will enlarge our playing season, our playability on those fields, and really bring them up to a higher level than they are. We are excited about that. There's ARPA funding from the city of Springfield and the state of Missouri. There's fundraising going on for part of the balance. There's some other funding coming from the CVB. And we have a timeline on that, just like all ARPA funding. So it's under design. I think it's under design, or it's under bid for design right now, but that's going to be coming in the next couple of years. Here's a photo, sort of an overview of the fields that are going to be included. That's Killian on the left, and then the soccer fields are circled in blue, and then that's the Cooper Park baseball kind of in the middle. Have you heard about this one? We are in a fundraising phase for the Roseanne Bentley Musical Playground. This was an idea that was brought to us by the Community Partnership of the Ozarks. She was a founding board member and served on that board for decades. They said, hey, we want to build a playground, and we wanted to name it for Roseanne Bentley, who did so much for kids in our community, also was a Greene County commissioner. You may remember her from that, also served as a state senator. This is planned for Phelps Grove Playground. It is to be located in the middle of the existing playground, and it's our first musical playground that we've planned. We have some drums here and there that are part of a larger playground, but this is the first piece, or the first playground that's going to be specifically for music. The instruments are really fun. There's 8 of them. They are drums, they are xylophones. That little tree that you see is like it has tones, so if you hit it, it makes noise. It's, I think, going to be super fun. And like I said, it is donation funded. And if you want to be a part of that, go to the Community Partnership of the Ozarks. They have a donation portal. Chadwick Flyer, this is a big one. All of them, I'm so excited. Each one is a big one, but Chadwick Flyer is a greenway trail that is under development. That up at the top, I know you can't see it, but that's Lake Springfield, that little blue blob. And then it winds down at the bottom, that red dot, that is the Ozark Community Center in Ozark in Christian County. So this is a cross-county greenway trail, and it basically follows a route that was a railroad bed called the Chadwick Flyer. And I think that was a joke that the Chadwick Flyer actually went really slow. Who said that? Anyone know more about Chadwick Flyer? Yeah, it didn't fly. But I guess it went to Chadwick. We're not going to Chadwick, but we are going to the Ozark Community Center. Right of way is being obtained right now, but it's exciting to think about that being a new greenway trail. And it'll be in the Lake Springfield area, which, ta-da, is another fun thing that's going on. The Lake Springfield plan is something that the city of Springfield is taking the lead on, but it includes lots of agencies. They want to, oh, here's my alarm. We're not going to have much time for questions. The city and city utilities want to find new ways to use the land that the James River Power Station is on. It's 1,000 acres. And it doesn't look like that when you drive by, but there's a lot of land associated with that power plant that the city and CU are looking to redevelop because that power plant is being decommissioned. In fact, those towers in that photo are no longer there. They tore those down a year ago. It's pretty exciting. The group is thinking very large, and they are still in the idea phase. So if you live out there, I hope you've heard about this because they want your opinion on how this is going to look. But the general idea is to excuse me, increase recreational use and economic use of the area, with the river kind of being the focal point. There's a lot of opportunity to have fun things there out at the waterfront, and we'll see what happens. Grant Avenue Parkway is another development that the city of Springfield is taking the lead on. We are associated because we have parks connections. Sorry, I should tell you what this is. Grant Avenue from downtown to Sunshine is being redeveloped as a corridor that is more of a welcome to the city. It connects Bass Pro to downtown, and it includes a large non-vehicle path. So it's essentially a greenway path that it's 3 miles long, goes from Sunshine to downtown. It does connect. We're excited because it's a greenway, and we are excited because it connects to Fast Night Park, Hawthorne Park, which is a little park kind of close to downtown, and the Route 66 Roadside Park. And that is funded through the Build grant, and I think there's also a big deadline on that, so they are moving fast. Ta-da! I made it to the end. Who has questions about any of these things or any things I didn't talk about? Yeah.
So 2006, the voters passed a 4% sales tax, a park sales tax. And so there were 3 phases. The phase 1 was the Dan Kenny, which opened in 2010. And then phase 2 was the Miracle League Field, which that opened in 2011. The third phase, according to the press release, was the Aquatics Center for Dan Kenny. Do you have any updates on the Aquatics Center plan?
I'm not sure which press release you're referring to. That might have predated my arrival. I might have still been here when that came out, so love to see it. The 2006 sales tax was the second of 2 sales taxes. It did include Dan Kenny, I think. Actually, now that I'm thinking about that, I am not sure Dan Kenny is part of that. That might have been paid through a bond. But the meat of your question is, what's up with the pool that is not there? We do not have a funding stream for that pool. So the building as it is right now was phase 1. It was designed to have a phase 2. And it's designed to have a addition that would include a pool, but we just don't have a funding stream for it. And I don't have a timeline either. I will tell you that is the number one question that we get asked everywhere is, when's Dan Kenny getting the pool? Does someone else want to ask about the Dan Kenny pool? Or do you have another question? Yes, Cindy.
And I don't know if you have time, but can you brief the group really quickly about the initiative on the ballot that's coming up in April, just so they are aware that there's something on the ballot?
I am able to do that. Am I able? Is this the forum for that? Can I do that?
Educate.
You can educate.
Okay. There are There are 3 proposals that are associated with the city of Springfield on the ballot that are not candidates. So these are issues. I'm sorry, I am working without notes, so I'm just going straight from memory. One is a reconfiguration of the hotel motel tax, which is a 5% tax on overnight stays in Springfield. So unless you're moving into a hotel, you're probably not paying this tax, but your friends that are visiting town are. It is currently it's 3 taxes put together that equals 5%. The proposal is to replace that with a single 5%. And the major change is that this proposal would add Airbnbs and short-term rentals to that mix to level the playing field so that hotels aren't the only ones paying that tax. The revenue is reconfigured. It's already going to Jordan Valley Park debt financing, which will be retired in 2028. I'm really going by memory here. Okay. It reconfigures where the funding goes, but it essentially is going to the same 4 entities. So the big changes is the Airbnbs. The second and third are both charter proposals. One would change the city charter, which goes back to 1953, would allow bids to be accepted in the same meeting that the city council votes to accept it. No, they can vote they can vote to accept the bid and enter into contract in the same meeting. Right now, city charter requires a 2-week period so that there's a delay. And so that change would allow them to do that in the same meeting. The third is a change to how personnel and human resources is interpreted or worded through the city charter. Right now, the city charter refers to it as personnel. City charter, as I mentioned, goes back to 1953. So we are all in this in 2023, we're more used to human resources. It would change the name. It would also allow that group to eliminate certain categories of employees and create new categories of employees. It's kind of hard to explain, but it is a big deal to the city because the way that the charter requires, there are extra steps that could be eliminated. I have to be very careful in the words that I use.
That you at least educate our group a little bit that there's ballot initiatives that the city is interested in.
Thanks for asking. Anyone want to talk about parks? Yes.
You mentioned the Chadwick Flyer. I just thought I'd throw out, there is a relatively new book in the library. It's by a guy named Tim Ritter. And he researched the Chadwick Flyer. You are correct. It went slow. It went down to Chadwick and they turned it around. So it was back and forth. But the interesting thing about that, it stopped operation literally overnight. The employees didn't know. It was in 1933, I believe.
Wow.
And if you go to Chadwick, you'll find that there's still, you can find the buildings. They used to make the railroad ties down there. It was quite a booming business. So that town really was impacted.
Tough time too, 1933. That's interesting. I want to check that out. Well, I want to thank you for having me here, and I want to thank the County Commission for our ongoing partnership. We talk to you guys a lot, and we appreciate you, and thanks for having me today.